listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in. Glad to have you with me. We have the official injury report out for LSU and Arkansas. Dropped Wednesday night, and it is telling on both sides for the Tigers and for the Hogs. We will run through that, give you the latest. There's a couple areas in this game that I want to explore that I think could be the turning point, could be the difference between a win and a loss for either team. And then to close the show, we'll sprinkle in a little bit more LSU basketball. Matt McMahon and his crew pick up another massive commitment for the class of 2025. That's number 3 for the LSU men's basketball program. We'll tell you a little bit about him as we do creep closer and closer to tip-off for LSU's from year 3, I should say, under Matt McMahon, inside of a month, actually, now until LSU basketball. So we'll let you know about the latest Tiger commitment there. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, tell your friends. Appreciate everybody being here as always. Follow me on social media, on Twitter X, at Musso Matthew, Facebook, Instagram. On Instagram, you can find me at Matthew Musso1. All of that is greatly appreciated. All right. Let's dive right into it, and we will start with the injury report for LSU and Arkansas. Not really a bunch of surprises on LSU's front. A couple of good things. I mean, all the same guys who were out last week still kind of listed. I should say all the guys designated as out still kind of listed as out. And they're the guys you know, right? Jacobian Yillery, Harold Perkins, Kyle Parker, John Emery Jr., Princeton. Most of it's the season-ending injuries and then a couple of reserve guys. What is interesting that I will point out here is Tyree Adams is listed as out for this ball game. Tyree's been your 6th offensive lineman all year, so that is something to kind of note and keep an eye on in this game. If one of your starting O-linemen go down, who slides in as as that 6th guy there, because it has been Tyree Adams. But for the most part, no shockers in terms of people out. C.J. Daniels, Chris Hilton, that's what everybody wants to know. And I will remind you, Brian Kelly on Monday was talking about the receiver position, and they expected to get guys back, but they're going to have to augment the position. And they followed up with, okay, well, you mentioned Taylen Green earlier. Is that what you meant? And Brian Kelly very assertively said, oh, we're getting someone back. Like, one of the injured receivers is coming back. Based on his comments on the teleconference, C.J. Daniels is the guy he said was going to be listed as probable. And in true form, C.J. Daniels is listed as probable on the injury report for Arkansas. So it does look like Daniels is gearing up to play. That's another weapon for LSU's offense. It's no more depth as well for LSU's offense. The disappointing part, though, there is Chris Hilton still listed as questionable, but it tracks with what Brian Kelly said day to day. And, we had a whole spiel about it last week. Until Chris Hilton's out on the field, I'm going forward in the season thinking you're just not going to have him. But it looks like you are getting C.J. Daniels back, and that will absolutely help. So that is good news for LSU on the injury report. Like, really top to bottom, you couldn't ask for much more there for the Tigers. They are just about as healthy as they could be, especially given all the season-ending injuries, going into a really, really massive game. For Arkansas, everybody's been wanting to know about the status of quarterback Taylen Green. This was Sam Pittman on the SEC coaches teleconference Wednesday when asked for an update on his signal caller.
I have been encouraged about how he's practiced. He's still not full speed yet, but we certainly think there's a possibility that he can get there. We'll have to wait and see there. Obviously we have 2 more practices and a walk, but I have been encouraged about his progression this week.
Interesting answer there, especially considering the injury report. So in that answer, you heard Pittman say he's still not, full speed. Got a few more practices to go through and our walk, but we're encouraged by his recovery. Listening to that, it sounds like he kind of still has a ways to go, right? Well, Taylen Green, not listed on the Arkansas injury report. That all means all signs point to him playing, which kind of tracks with what Sam Pittman said back on Monday, where, he said, we feel good about him being able to go. So it seems like LSU will see Taylen Green. That obviously is going to factor in into our next conversation that we have momentarily about a few areas of the game that could swing it here between the Tigers and the Hogs. Of note, really, with Arkansas is it's in that same vein, like with a guy like Taylen Green, it's guys who aren't on the injury report. Patrick Kutas, interior offensive lineman, was thought to be a starter coming into the season, has missed every game for Arkansas so far. He is not listed, has been at practice the last 2 weeks, and seems like he will be active for this game against LSU. That strengthens Arkansas's offensive line. A defensive back, Miguel Mitchell, who they've been waiting on for the last couple of weeks as well, is back at practice, and Sam Pittman on his radio show Wednesday night confirmed Mitchell is back. So that's positive, and it's even more positive because Arkansas will be without Jalen Braxton, their best defensive back, for now a 5th straight game. He's dealing with some tendinitis in his knee. At least that's what Sam Pittman has described it as. So this is now 5 straight games, they'll be out without their best cornerback. Now, Jaheim Singletary has been the guy who's been the primary replacement for Jalen Braxton and has filled in quite nicely. Arkansas really hasn't missed much of a beat. They're 28th in the country in pass defense. That being said, this is the best passing attack they have faced all season. So that will certainly be put to the test, and not having Jalen Braxton is definitely a matchup to watch between LSU and the Hogs. But all in all, for both sides, really positive results on the injury report. Now look, things can change. I'll kind of refer you back to that clip we just played of Sam Pittman. You have a couple more practices, your walkthrough, all of that to go, and those statuses will be updated before game day. But as it stands here, with the initial injury report released on Wednesday night, both teams are in really good spots health-wise, and that should only fuel what is expected to be a really, really solid matchup between LSU and Arkansas Saturday night in Fayetteville. The line has not moved anymore. It is still LSU 2.5, but remember that has come down 2 points from 4.5, so there is the sharp money on Arkansas here at this point in the week. And I told you when we talked about kind of like the letdown spot and whatnot the other day, this would be your buy spot in this game. The last 4, each game in the Sam Pittman era at Arkansas between the Tigers and the Hogs has been decided by 3 points. All 4 of them. You got a line at 2.5. You want to bet this game. I mean, either side, this is your buy spot kind of right here. So, I'll just keep throwing that out there. One thing I left out as well that I wanted to mention here before we get into some matchups, when we were talking about letdown spot, it's also a huge look-ahead spot. That game against A&M and Kyle Field next week could have huge implications on postseason. So not only do you have the letdown factor with the coming off the big win, having to travel, storming the field, all of that, you also have the look-ahead spot as well. This is LSU has to come correct in this football game because Arkansas is more than capable of beating them. The Hogs have been really good defensively so far this season, really good defensively. Now again, this is going to be the best passing attack they've faced, but that's been a formidable unit as well for them in the secondary. And Bobby Petrino has definitely breathed new life into this Arkansas offense. I mean, it's safe to say, y'all, this is the best the Arkansas offense has been under Sam Pittman since Kendall Briles was calling the plays. So, with everything outside surrounding LSU, they really, really need to focus in and come correct. And one of the things we talked about in looking at that was leaning on the leadership. You have guys who have been in this spot plenty before, and that's a sentiment that Brian Kelly echoed Wednesday on the SEC Coaches Teleconference.
This group has been down this road before. There's a lot of veteran guys. I know we're playing a lot of young guys, but there's enough leadership with the group that really leads them in the right direction. And that is the most important thing is how we prepare for Arkansas, not what people think about you, whether it's good or whether it's bad.
And look, that was my point the other day when we were talking exclusively about the letdown spot. Josh Williams, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Garrett Dellinger, Miles Frazier, Greg Penn, Sage Ryan, Major Burns, like all those guys were on the team last time in 2022 when LSU upset Alabama, stormed the field, and then had to go to Fayetteville the very next week and play at 11 a.m. Like, all those guys have been through this, and you lean on that leadership. That's how you avoid the letdown. Brian Kelly echoing those sentiments there. That is encouraging to hear. Now, let's look at matchups in this game, because I just told you how solid Arkansas has been really in all three phases. And LSU, while they just played a hell of a game defensively, you're hoping that's more that they build on that going forward, because so far that game, specifically the second half against Ole Miss, has really kind of been the outlier for LSU. They've had great defensive moments throughout the season, but the consistency hasn't quite been there yet. Now can you build off of that? So that's one thing that you're looking for. Arkansas, as we said, on the other side, it's just been steady, really all season in all three phases. Now, while I'm on the topic of outliers real quick, Arkansas is dealing with a pretty big one themselves. They finally closed a game out against Sam Pittman and won a big one. I should say that. They finally closed out a big game against Sam Pittman and won. I mean, before that, y'all, Arkansas is always the team that plays hard, plays tough, is right there in the end, but they can't get over the hump. I mean, just go back to, you could go back through the majority of Sam Pittman's time in Arkansas, but just go back to last year. You know, they're on the road at LSU. They're in a shootout. They're underdogs. They play it to 3 points, but they lose. They're on the road at Ole Miss. They play that to one possession. They lose. On the road at Alabama the week after that Ole Miss game, they play it to 3 points. They lose. You know, that's kind of what you were looking at throughout the entire history. Hell, y'all, even in 2024, they have 2 double-digit leads against Oklahoma State. They lose it in overtime by one possession. Texas A&M, neutral site. They play it to one possession. They fall short. They finally closed it out against Tennessee, and they got the win. Is that the outlier? Can they do it again? I fully expect them to be in this game for 60 minutes with LSU. But can they make the play to close it out? Well, Sam Pittman was asked about Arkansas finally closing out that big win and what it meant to the team, what maybe he learned, what the team learned about themselves or gained in finally doing it.
Confidence, I think it's about the process of what it's done for us, is put us confidence in that if we'll do the process of weekly preparation and take it one day at a time and have a good Monday and have a good Tuesday and so forth, that we're able to play our best ball. And if we'll play our best ball, we've got a fine team. And I think that's probably more than even the confidence of winning. It was the confidence that we had the process works if we'll continue to do it that right way.
Confidence. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, man, you finally got over the hump. But to really see if that confidence takes, to really see if you've truly gotten over that hump, can you do it a second week in a row? That's how you build a program. And Arkansas is still trying to build a program. So that's a big outlier for them that they're going to have to overcome in this game. Now, one reason that Arkansas got over that hump and was able to close out the game against Tennessee, even losing their starting quarterback in the fourth quarter, is because they didn't turn the football over at all in that game. And that leads us into the first thing that I want to highlight in this matchup. Turnovers. It's been a problem for Arkansas. We talked about it with Taylen Green earlier in the week. Taylen Green has the ability to be a very dynamic player. Very dynamic. But he is also going to give the football up. 5 interceptions. I mean, he's got a 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So 5 picks. He's also fumbled the ball 5 times. There is opportunity to take the football away for LSU's defense against Arkansas and specifically Taylen Green. LSU, the last couple of weeks, hasn't been great turnover-wise either. You've seen Garrett Nussmeier turn the ball over 2 times in the last 2 games each. 4 times in the last 2 games, so 2 each. He has to be better with the football on the road in this game. He has to be. But even with that, LSU has protected the ball very well in the running game and yards after catch. So if Nuss protects the ball, I feel good about LSU as a whole protecting the ball. And even with those 4 turnovers from your quarterback in the last 2 games, LSU is still +1 for the season in turnover margin. Arkansas is -2. And I know that doesn't sound like a big difference in margin, but that's 3 turnovers. That is a difference of 3 turnovers. And on the road, if you can win the turnover margin, that's huge. Likewise, at home, if you lose the turnover margin, that can sink your ship real fast. I think LSU's defense has been pretty opportunistic in forcing turnovers this season, especially in the pass rush, getting to the quarterback, knocking the ball loose, things of that nature. I mean, it happened to Jackson Dart, Lenore Sellers. Obviously, all of those things matter too, but turnovers, huge in this game. That is one thing that I'm absolutely watching. The other is the running game. Shocker, right? And look, I'm not actually counting on LSU to run the football. LSU is a passing team. That's just what they are at this point. I mean, you have a 6-game sample, okay? LSU threw the ball 51 times last week, ran it 24. It felt like they didn't even really try to run the football against Ole Miss. And Ole Miss played plenty of coverage. But Brian Kelly, on the teleconference, said they spent extra time this week in practice on the run game.
The past few weeks, we have spent more preparation time, for inside, internal 9-on-7 run, because we have to get better at the timing elements. We have to get better at the run recognition that is so crucial to our overall effective and efficient running game. So the answer is we're just spending more practice time on it because it's an area that needs to continue to improve.
Well, you're going up against another pretty stiff test. Arkansas is allowing just over 100 yards per game on the ground defensively. And what was really impressive, if you were watching that Tennessee game, Arkansas more often than not was able to stop the run with 5 guys, which allowed them to play more coverage. So it totally can change, obviously, the way they can defend LSU. If they're able to stop LSU's run with 5 guys, play more coverage, they have a chance to really neutralize the LSU offense like they did the Tennessee offense. Now, what that also does is it gives you a favorable look. Like, it gives you a favorable run look, and LSU's talked plenty about that all season long, but Ole Miss dropped 8 a good bit on Saturday. That's a hell of a favorable look to run the ball. You weren't able to do it. Again, you kind of didn't really try. I want to see, since you're telling me that there's been a concerted effort in practice to get better at it, have you gotten better at it, and do you attempt to really make a concerted effort in this game to run the ball? Because, again, I think LSU, long sustained drives, time of possession in this game could also help minimize the opportunity for a letdown. You can just suck the air out of a building doing that. And I think that would be huge for LSU. So let's see in the run game. Arkansas, they're going to try to stop LSU's run with 5 and be able to play coverage, just like they did against Tennessee. You got 5-on-5. Can you block them? Can you win that battle and establish a running game on Saturday, I should say, and kind of flip the script of the game? You do that, and you're going to have a chance for a really big offensive day. Turnovers and run game. Those are my 2 big things that I think can absolutely swing this game. Can LSU win this game without running the football? Yes, of course they can, because LSU's won 5 games this year, really, without running the football. 4, but South Alabama, not a good team. I shouldn't say that. Not a team on par with LSU, as we all kind of figured. But you've won the majority of your games without running the football. Road, home, doesn't matter. So sure, yes, you can. But it would lead to certainly a better path, easier path to victory if you can. All right, quickly, before we get out of here, another win on the recruiting trail for Matt McMahon and LSU's men's basketball. They continue to creep toward a top 10 class for 2025. Of course, they already have 2 top 75 commitments in the fold in shooting guard Maisie Mosley, who we told you about, and power forward Matt Gilhul, who we told you about. Both of those guys rank in the top 20 in their at their positions in the country as well, top 75 overall. Now LSU has added point guard, 4-star point guard, I should say, Jalen Reece. Reece out of Orlando, 6 feet tall, playing the one, number 70 prospect in the country by On 3. Chose the Tigers over Providence and Cincinnati, others in there as well. But that gives LSU and Matt McMahon now 3 commitments for the class of 2025 inside the top 75. The class itself ranked inside the top 15 by both On 3 and 247 Sports. It's building for Matt McMahon. This is big. And as we said when we talked about the Mosley commitment, you're going to have some turnover at guard is LSU after this year. So those are positions of need that they're getting as well. You have different guys in their final season of college basketball. So strengthening the backcourt once again is Matt McMahon. Again, 4-star point guard Jalen Reece picks the Tigers commitment number 3 for the class of 2025, which ranks inside the top 15 by both On 3 and 247 Sports. Now 3 top 75 commitments for Matt McMahon and LSU. They tip off their season in less than a month now against ULM at the PMAC. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for today's edition of LSU Daily. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, share. All of that greatly appreciated. Follow me on social media as well. Be here next time for more final preview and prediction, LSU and Arkansas on LSU Daily.